Are you ready, Mr. White?
I'm ready.
All right. All right. Today is Saturday, July 17th, 2021. My name is Saja Hussein, and I am with the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program. We are in Elaine, Arkansas, at the Elaine Legacy Center currently, and I am with Mr. James White.
And my name is Erik Chavez.
All right. So we can go ahead and begin. First question I wanted to ask is, when and where were you born, Mr. White?
I was born in Elaine, Arkansas, right here in this town. I lived here basically all my life. I left and I came back, but this is home.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your family, your parents, siblings, anything like that?
I got brothers, sisters. They live here too. I got a sister that lived in Chicago. She went up north at an early age, so she still lives up there. And my father and mother went to up north to seek better jobs.
Yeah. Could you tell us about your childhood? What was a childhood in Elaine like?
Well, it was the childhood in Elaine for me was like it was kind of different, but we kind of enjoyed it because our parents protected us, in which they would tell us about 1919, where we'll be safe, because there was a lot going up in Elaine. It was different. It was different but simply because it was two sides of town, and one side of town we weren't allowed on the south side of town. And people used to do cruel stuff, throw rocks, sick dogs on you when you come to the store, stuff like that. But as kids, we really didn't understand all that. We know it was different, but we just didn't understand it. You know, and our parents would tell us, you know, you can't be here, you can't do this, you can't do that, you know. Yeah.
So how would you say your parents' childhood was different from your own?
I think my parents' childhood, basically I lived with my grandmother. I lived with my mother, but basically I just loved my grandmother and grandfather. And my grandmother childhood was like terrifying. She was just in trauma. And you could really see it when she told stories and stuff. Because during the 1919 massacre, she was 15 years old, and she lived through it. So she had some maybe happy times, but most of it was just trauma. So that's why when we kind of formed the Elaine Legacy Center, that's why I do this here, simply because of her and my grandfather, because they went through so much, losing everything. I got relatives that left and never came back here to this town, to this day.
Why? What made you really want to stay? Was it because of your grandparents?
Because of my grandparents, and it's just home. I'm talking about this could be a good place if there was a lot of changes. This could be a really nice. It's quiet, it's open, and I like that. I don't like city because it's so congested and everybody moving at 100 miles an hour. So I'm just the kind of person just like space.
Yeah. You said Elaine feels like home. Can you talk about some of the experiences that made you feel like that? Like some of the things you participated in as a child here in Elaine?
Well, growing up with my friends, we had a lot of fun, you know. We kept to ourselves. We played basketball, football. We went to this school here. It was different. It was, when we got here, the teachers didn't treat us right. And a lot of people want to say this school was great, and maybe for some people it were, you know, but not for all, because the staff made it hard for black kids, and due to scholarships, it's people that can come in here and tell you how they wrecked their career, football, basketball. And these people did this here. I can remember a time when we was going to school, we wanted to go to the museum, Martin Luther King, and they boycotted. They wouldn't let us do it. So we had to get reporters. The teacher was Miss Billie Jean McCrae, and she started it. And because they wouldn't let us do nothing, if we had I think the drama teacher would go to the college, and no matter if you were black, no matter how you did, wasn't nobody black going. She'd just take white students. So it was different.
What was that experience like watching your teachers having to speak on your behalf to make sure that y'all could have some experiences like that?
I think that was one of the best things for the whole black class, the whole school, because then we saw that we could step up. We could step up and our word meant something if we just stuck together.
May you explain more about the boycott, please?
Well, they had to boycott the school board. We had to get reporters. They called the news people. And finally, they just let us go on trips. But at first, it wasn't no trip, especially it was the global study class, Pacific. And, but we had to fight for it. They just wouldn't let us do it. School board, faculty, they just wouldn't let us do it.
Do you remember what year that was?
Maybe 1980, maybe, I don't know. You could look it up. I could look it up for you. So.
Yeah. Can you talk to us a little bit about the history of Elaine and why it's important to talk about it?
Well, for the history of Elaine, I think that it's a lot of dark stuff here in Elaine, and people go through, they know about it, but they won't talk about it. And that's on both sides, white side, black side, according to who you talk to. They just want, because it's a lot of drama, it's a lot of trauma, it's a lot of stuff that went on that people don't want you to know about. And that's why it's taking so long for this to come out, because people really don't want it out. A lot of killing here, a lot of ingest here to this day, but people don't want to talk about it. People feel like, okay, if it don't concern me, I ain't worried about nobody else, and they just walk on by. But it shouldn't be like that. We all should work together in this town. It's a good town, but the people with the land, they actually don't want anything here, because it's plenty of money here. It's plenty of money here. It's money here for everybody. If they would let that happen, they won't let it happen. So, yes, it's a lot of ingest here.
Can you talk a little bit more about people being prevented from getting wealth in Elaine, like that last note that you just said?
Well, getting wealth in Elaine for a black person, I think after 1919, that was it for the black people in this area. And we had land before, but after 1919, after them 3 or 4 days, we didn't have nothing. It was no generational wealth brought for black people up to this day. There's none there. You can look it up. The people that did survive to hold on to their land, they were still forced out, most of them. You couldn't get a crop loan, you couldn't get money, you couldn't, and if you did, you never got out of debt, and you end up losing your land to the bank or somebody. The bank was run by people that was taking land. If you put your land up, and most of these people, you got to understand, a lot of people couldn't read and write, maybe, some of them, but it was a lot of people that could. And then you get this thing with sharecropping. people had businesses, people had stores, they had, I'm talking about, and we documented some of this stuff, you know, but they want to say it was just everybody was poor. And I can remember we was going to school, I was going to school south, it was a black school. But it was black schools all in this community, in Elaine. But I was going down south of here, and it was good, you know. And then maybe 3 years into school, they integrated the school. Everybody had to come to Elaine, and that was bad because we were new to this here, and it just felt like you wasn't wanted, you know. And then you're a kid and you really can't do nothing about it because at the time I was coming up, you couldn't speak out to your parents. You could tell them and they would listen, but basically you had to do what they tell you to do. You know, kids these days, they do what they want to do, you know, so most of them.
Did your grandma ever tell you any stories about the kind of property or like prosperity y'all had before 1919?
Well, my grandfather's name was Henry White, and he was a landowner. And I'm thinking he's saying it was like 20 acres maybe. And but I don't know what happened to it. It left way before I even was born, you know. But they did own land. I got some people now south of here that own a little land, you know, but it's not nothing really enough to do anything with. And I think the sharecropping thing comes with, it's kind of like now. I think why they said sharecropper, because back in the day, you could, like now, I can own land, and you can own land, but you may not want to farm your land, so you let me take over, you know, and I farm your land. That don't mean that I didn't own land, that I was a sharecropper. It just means that I'm farming your land and you get a percentage out of what, but people don't look at it like that. Black people own land in this community. With my coming up, it was so many people here. I remember when I was a kid in Elaine, you could not walk on them streets up there it was just that many people. It was just that many people. But if you go back and look through the census and all that, you get to a certain point and everything just stopped. It's like, can't find nothing.
So would you say the population's decreased over the years in Elaine?
Yes. By hundreds of people.
And so, like, me just, like, reflect more. So what do you think we can do with education for our children? Like, do you think we should be teaching them or, like teaching, I guess, like, of healing sessions, if that what you said earlier from yesterday?
I think what we should be teaching is the truth. I'm talking about that's what's going on now. Everybody's sugarcoating the truth. You know, and no matter how bad it is, I think it's the truth. You know, you can't come behind the truth. You know, you tell the truth, you know, it's just the truth. You know, these people know people was lynching people, and they know how we live, and the community is segregated and split and, you know, divided. Everybody know that. But they don't want to live. They don't want to face it. You know, we got reporters coming here back all the time for a day or two. And then they go back and write all these crazy stories about sharecropping, but black people never owned anything. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about when the military came in here and surrounded people and slaughtered them down with machine guns. They don't talk about that. They don't. Or history talk about it, but they don't talk about it. So they don't tell about the people that had to hide in swamps and this and that. Because the land is like gold. If you got the land, you got the power. plenty of money in this area. It's plenty of money in Phillips County, but black people don't have none of that wealth. And it's handed down and over again. We never get anything of it.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? A lot of people do come into Elaine, filmmakers, journalists, activists, and they're always telling their side of the story.
Yeah, they tell their side of the story. They don't tell the people's side of the story. You know, they want to go to a story that white people created back in 1919, and that's the only stories you hear. You hear a few, but I'm talking about most of the journalists coming here today. They just write about sharecropping, small town, and this is not the only town. It's a lot of little small town, but this is where everybody got murdered at. You know, so. And I see people, y'all was in the cemetery today, probably half of them people out there I know personally. When I was a kid, I saw the hardship that they had working for nothing, you know, working all their life. And the people that owned the land would put them out their houses, then they had nowhere to go. They had to live in shacks. And you go to the north side of town, you see how it look over there. Not because black people wanted to look like that, because they don't have nothing to really look forward to. They don't have the money that it takes to build a town up. The city council, they don't do anything. You know, just look at this town. Look at the water tower. That water tower been looking like that for 15 years or 20 years. And then the mayor, yes, I'm putting the mayor out there. He don't come to these kind of meetings. When we want to have something or want him to be here and support, he don't never come. None of the city leaders do. You got people that sit on board. I can remember the school board. They had people sitting on the school board that their kids went to private school, but they were making all the decisions for the public schools. They didn't even send their kids to this school, but they were making decisions. Nobody ever talk about that. And to me, the whole school system, they let all these kids down. They let them down. They said no child left behind. They left everybody behind, still leave them behind. The kids got a bus down south almost 100 miles to Marvel School. And somebody thought that was a good idea, just merge all the schools, you know, together and have one school. But they got to think about how the kids felt. And I felt for the kids because when I was going to this black school, and then I had to come up here to Elaine, it was a totally different, and I felt for them. We got a lot of brilliant kids in this town. Just need a chance. They ain't looking for nothing. They ain't looking for you to give them nothing, but just give them a chance. You know, if the farmers in this area gave back 1% to this town, we'll have a new road, maybe a school, maybe some kind of business that they could look at. If you stay here, you gotta leave out of this town to have something. If you got that American dream everybody want, you gotta leave out this town, because you will never get it here. Not by being black, you won't. And maybe, you know what, maybe 20 years ago, for me just talking to y'all, they probably would have burned my house down, maybe shot at me. It's that serious. I'm talking about basically people here get along, but it ain't like one big happy town like everybody come in here and think. You know, we don't mess with them, they don't mess with us. We try to get along. And I'm not blaming the people here, but their ancestors did it. They know about it. We know about it, they know about it. So it's a lot when people come in here and because people just get tired of living trauma. They get tired of it. They get tired of living trauma every day. That's why you can't get people to talk about this. And it was white people back in 1919 hiding people and helping black people. Everybody wasn't killers, you know, but it was people helping. But it happened.
Would you say that the way Elaine is taught in schools is different to its black students and its white students?
Say that again.
Would you say the way Elaine's history is taught in schools is different for its like white predominant schools and its black predominant schools?
Yeah, they didn't really teach us nothing in Elaine about black history. You know, they really didn't. And they just don't go to Elaine, it's all over. You know, I didn't know about Tulsa until maybe 15 years ago. I just didn't know. So there's a whole lot of hidden stories out there that they don't want to come out. You know, so yes. They just taught us about Columbus discovering America and crazy stuff like that, and that's what they taught us.
And how was Elaine's history taught to you personally?
Personally, I live Elaine history to my timeline. That's what I'm telling you about now, how it was. You know, it was just different.
And how would you say it was taught to the community as a whole? How most people find out about it here?
The massacre?
The massacre, yes.
Through their ancestors, they people. It's a lot of people know, they just don't talk about it. They just don't want to live that trauma. The younger generation, that's why it's going to be up to y'all to carry this story. And whatever you do through life, tell the truth. Just tell the truth. You know, if black people were lynched, and tell it. That's what happened. You can't sugarcoat nothing. You can't sugarcoat it like it was okay. It wasn't that bad, you know. It was bad. Because anytime you have soldiers here that's supposed to be protecting the people, and they surround woods and kill hundreds and hundreds of people, you know, and really ain't nobody here looking for mass graves. Because if they was, we'll have people here looking for them. They don't want to find them. Because then they start investigating stuff. So I don't think they want that.
And so, like, do you believe in, like, do you still believe in the concept of reparations or, like, any other solutions to the Elaine, this community?
Reparation could be anything. Reparation to me is educating the kids from where they, you know, it could be education, it could be a school, it could be, it don't have to be money. My grandfather used to always say he supposed to be got 40 acres and a mule. Back in that day, he probably could have did something with it. 40 acres and a mule, in these days, he won't get it. You know, so reparation could be anything. It could be building the town up, it could be a swimming pool for the kids, or some kind of programs to help the kids. It don't have to be just money.
Earlier you mentioned how some students would bus a long way away to get to schools. Can you talk about some of those experiences or just elaborate on the school system here?
Well, I'm talking about the school system that shut down in 2007. Now they got a bus. They used to go to school here, but after they closed the school down south, it's like maybe 20 miles down south, and they had the bus from down there to Elaine, then to Marble. And it's like over an hour, and the kids had to get up like 5 o'clock in the morning to get on the bus. Plus, it's a rival school, so, you know, if you go to Elaine, you ain't gonna wanna go to a school in Helena, you know, cause all your friends in Elaine, you know. So for the first 2 years, they just had fights over there. They were fighting every day. Nobody come talk about that. People talk about things they want to talk about, something that make them, they don't let the uncomfortable talk or telling the truth sometimes. Because a lot of them They could have did something about it, but they didn't do nothing about it. Guess what? Because it didn't affect them. So you really got to think of what you do before you do it. Just because something don't affect you, that don't mean it ain't affecting people around you. So.
Earlier, we talked about like those filmmakers and journalists and activists who come and tell the story their way. How would you tell the story of Elaine's massacre and being a member of the community of Elaine yourself?
How would I tell it? By telling the truth, what I was told. The killing, the lynching, the ingest, not just sharecroppers. To all the people that journalists, please stop using sharecroppers all the time. Look into the story. Don't just get on the internet and see some story on there and then you just kind of feed from that. Come to the town, talk to the people, get their story. It's their story. They might feel uncomfortable, some of them, but just don't write a lot of stuff that already been written. Because at the end of the day, that's all it is. Some that somebody else done wrote. You didn't come to the town, you didn't talk to the people, but you can easily go on the internet and get a story off of that. You can get something off of that and you can just feed from that and you can add on. Talk to the people. Talk to me, talk to Miss Quinn and Mr. Quinn, and talk to the people that live here. And it's really a few of them left because so many of them done passed on. If people was really trying to get a story, they should have been here 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But at the time when people was here, they were still scared, afraid to talk about it. There's some people lived here that don't even know about that massacre. And the massacre is real. And back in 1919, they killed all these people. They slaughtered them down. Even the National Guard or whoever they sent in the troops. And they don't talk about that because they put fear in people's heart. If you go look at some newspaper clippings, they said, all Negroes go home, be quiet, the massacre over with. But that's putting fear. Fear is a very powerful thing. If you put fear in somebody, it stay there. You think about it, it's been over 100 years. And you go talk to some of these old people or middle-class age people, and they still afraid to talk about it. They'll give you a story, oh, that didn't happen, it didn't happen, or some story, y'all need to leave that alone. But I won't leave it alone because I want everybody to know. I want young people like y'all to know, teachers, lawyers. Y'all need to know. Because the story, I'm talking about the white race betrayed black people as slaves, ignorant, all kind of crazy stuff. And they hid all, we didn't have no heroes coming up. We had, I think when I was a kid, we had like 2 channels down here, seriously, 2 channels. And we had these little antennas that you put on the house. Y'all probably never saw one, but me and my brother had to be in the house. One of us had to be in the house, one of us had to be by the TV. We had 2 channels. So, and the only thing we had was John Wayne killing all the Indians. That's gonna always happen. We know it couldn't happen every time. Even we wasn't that dumb. And Happy Days. It wasn't no black people. It wasn't no black heroes on TV. Just didn't see them. But we wasn't stupid.
Maybe let's explain your thoughts about concepts as American exceptionalism, American dream, stuff like that.
American dream. You can have American dream. You can be whatever you want to be. They say, and you can, but if you black, I think you got to work harder for it. It ain't gonna come easy. I can remember taking my first driving test, and me and 2 more girls. One of them was white. She was our friend. I'm talking about We ain't have nothing against them. I'm not racist. But anyhow, I passed my test. The two girls flunked their test. And you know, you have to have, like, come back, you have to wait 30 days, I think. But the instructor told her that was white that gave us the test, told her to come back after 12 and she could take the test again. But he didn't tell the black girl that. That happened, you know, so he gave her another chance to take her test. She still flunked it in the afternoon, but, but it's just the idea he gave her a chance, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if you can say anything about the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s, if that is something that, you know, touched Elaine in any way, or just Phillips County, the Arkansas Delta area, if that's something maybe your parents participated in or told you about or knew anything about.
Yeah, yeah, I can remember in the 60s, I remember when Martin Luther King got killed, and I'm talking about, because we just had a radio, and we didn't have the TV then. We had a radio, and everybody was just sitting around listening and crying and talking, you know, and they kind of pushed the kids out, you know. Some of my people worked in that, but I don't know really a whole lot about it.
Did you notice a change in the attitudes of people around you being more willing to talk about Elaine's massacre after the civil rights movement?
No. And they still don't talk about it.
May you tell us about the situation with the tree, like how it was cut down by someone?
The tree the tree got put up there. It was a willow tree. We put a plaque on it. It was for a memorial for all the people that lost their life, and we put that plaque on there. It was for all the people, white, black, no matter, you know. So somebody went up there and chopped it down. They went up there and chopped it down. We put another one up there. It died. They saw some investigators down here. I think they was federal people. But anyhow, they put it on. They stayed a couple of days, and they put it on. Some kids chopped it down. Vandalism. And I said, y'all know that no kids chopped that tree down. But that's what they put it on. So we put another one up there. I guess they poisoned it or did something to it. It died. So we put a museum up there, which is a good thing for Elaine, because it'll have a lot of history in it. It wouldn't surprise me if they hadn't did something to it. But we've been lucky so far. But if I would get up one morning and see it been burned down, I wouldn't be surprised.
May you tell us more about the museum over there?
A little more about
the museum?
the museum?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just gonna be a museum with a lot of archives of Elaine, 1919, and I kind of want the people to do it. You know, whatever people donate, pictures, memorabilia, whatever it's gonna be the people museum.
And you said there was also like a bike path over here, which was like millions of dollars. Was that correct again?
Yeah, bike path.
Yeah.
After the bike path, the people from the bike path, the one planted the willow tree for us because we were looking for somewhere to put it. And I think we asked them could we put it up there. Yeah, they got a bike path up there, and I think the state spending $20 million, and then I think the Walton Foundation put up another $20 million for 89-mile bike path that don't nobody use that often. And y'all probably been here for a few days, and y'all probably ain't saw nobody riding on that bike path. And that money could have went in this town, fixed the streets, created some stuff, but they don't look at it like that. You know, I just don't think they want anything in here besides farming.
So yesterday we had a conversation about the cemetery near here, and you were talking about how people chopped down the willow tree and how you wouldn't be surprised if the museum was burned down. You showed me the picture of the gravestones that had just been cast aside and broken so they could continue to develop the land. How can we put an end to this sort of thing? You know, how can we memorialize Elaine in a way that it won't be destroyed? And how do you see that future, I guess?
Well, what she's talking about, I document cemeteries. We go out and document cemeteries to keep the landowners and the farmers from destroying them, because they will. Down south of here, this white lady was telling me about a cemetery that she knew that the farmers had took and removed some of the stones and, start plowing over them. I really didn't believe it at first, but when I went down there, it was true. It was true. So the UAPB Pine Bluff, I got with them, and it's we come down, and what we do is go out and we take all the names, and then we get the GPS coordinates, and then we document them, and that way the farmers, the landowners can't just take them, just can't, move stones out and just go over them. But they are doing it, and I got proof of that. So because it used to be so many cemeteries and so many churches, but after people left, the cemeteries just kind of went down and people stopped taking care of them. But it's still it's beings out there, somebody's loved ones out there. So I'm kind of working with that right now. And it's hard work. It's hard work. There's nothing easy about it. Y'all had a little taste of yesterday. I know it was hot out there, but I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
The other day you talked about how a lot of the people of Elaine have a lot of trauma. How would you recommend to people coming into Elaine, Arkansas, to handle the people of Elaine with care and not take advantage of that trauma in like a real caring way?
It's not really a whole lot of them to left. We got a lot of young people that don't know about the story. But I think you should just handle them with respect. We got to get this out to the younger generation and let them know what happened, because I think we trapped in a system now that ain't going anywhere. It's just my belief. I'm talking about if you're a young person now and you got a child and you live in a project complex, it's hard to get out of there. And then you got people that people can get out of there, but you trapped in a system that won't let you out of there. If James decides he stay in the project complex and he want to get out, so I go get me a job, then my rent go up. I'm living there, I'm getting a stipend check to help me pay my bills. People, they don't see nothing wrong with that. But you enabling the people when you do that. Everybody can't get out the projects. Everybody can't break away from that. If you stay there, you get a job, your rent go up, you ain't making but $200 or $300 anyway, and your rent $500. So it's better to just stay there and do nothing. It's just better to stay there and do nothing. Y'all look it up. I'm not just talking, just look it up. A lot of people don't want to do that because they put it on anything other than the truth. If you want to help somebody, that 40 million you spending on that walkway up there, that trail, bike trail or whatever, give it to the people. Put something here for the people. And that's just not here, that's everywhere. I think the government enable a lot of people. I think they do. We want help, but we want to be able to make it. You know, people, it's a lot of people want American dream. It's people want to be a doctor. It's people want to be a lawyer. But all that dream go away. You a young girl, you end up getting pregnant, and you smart, but you end up in a project somewhere where you just can't break away. You know, so I think people need to look into that. I think people need to help people more with that if we want to move forward. You know, you got good laws and you got bad laws. Somebody a long time ago don't want people to discipline their kids. You know, and it's just how I feel. I don't know about anybody else feel. If you can't discipline your kids and then you run into a dirty police that go out there and murder them, I'm not giving them no A either, because they've been doing a lot of stuff too. But we need our police. We do need police. But the discipline starts at home. You know, some kids are better than other kids. You got good kids and you got bad kids. Then you got kids that you got to show. You know, all this revolves around these laws. It's good laws and it's bad laws. But if you can't discipline your kids at home, then you take prayer out of schools. This white America I'm talking about. And please believe me, I'm not prejudiced. I'm just talking. That's just how I feel. You asked me, so I'm telling you. They think they know everything. They think they know what's good for black folks, Mexicans. They think they know. They just know. And they don't even know what's good for them. And I don't want nobody in here white, I don't want y'all to feel uncomfortable. I'm just telling you how I feel. You know, you got to look at yourself before you start judging everybody else and you think you can make, just because you went to school and you got a big degree in something, and, you know, that don't make it that you can just judge the world. That's not right. You know, we all live on this planet, which they say is melting and burning up and storming and everything. We need to come together. But it's going to be up to the younger people. And the younger people, guess what? They ain't trying to hear it. And that's with the white, the black, and all of them. Our young people are very lost right now. I feel sorry for them. And why I say they lost? Because you know what? They think everything a game. They are very smart. They are very smart. Physical labor, they can't do it. You couldn't put one of them out there to mow a yard unless he run back in here 10 minutes talking about he wants some water. It's just hot. Or he tired. And that's sad. So, but you can put them on this phone and they can get to some stuff that I can't even get to. You know, so, yeah, I think people need to look into that.
So something that I find interesting while being here is that we've seen a lot of people reporting on Elaine. We've seen a filmmaker, we've seen a photographer, we've seen journalists, and obviously we're also reporting on Elaine in our own way. And I wanted to know if you've noticed differences in our approach and how you feel about them.
Journalists?
Yeah, so comparing, you know, the filmmaker, Trent, the photographer, journalists, us, like we're all trying to report on Elaine in some way. Because we care very deeply about Elaine, of course, we all do. But I'm wondering if you've noticed some differences in approaches between these different groups, and what you can say about that.
I think the journalists, not all journalists, some of them come in here and just get a story from one or two people. But my thing with the journalists, if they come in here and they come talk to me, why they can't go on the south side of town and talk to the white people too? You know, you got to get the whole story. See how they feel. You know, see how they feel. Y'all, on the other hand, are different. Y'all are students. Y'all are here trying to learn. Y'all educators, teachers, lawyers. So it's good. I like talking to y'all because nothing that I got against journalists, But y'all, when y'all leave here, y'all don't get a different feeling. Y'all come here and y'all stay a couple of days. Y'all go talk to people. With some journalists just come in here for a day or two and they gone. And they run up to that courthouse and get a little information that they got up there and they gone with it. But y'all are, to me, are different. You know, y'all want to be here. Y'all want to hear the story. So that's why I'm here talking to y'all. Because a lot of journalists I don't even talk to. Because no matter what I tell them, or I just tell the truth, and they still are twisted every time. I don't care if they write, James White said somebody got lynched or somebody told him he got, write it. That's what I said. You know, so just educate yourself on all of this. Take all of this stuff in. Think about how people had to live. Think about how many hidden stories it is out there. It's not just only here in Elaine. It's all over. It's where y'all live, y'all hometowns. A lot of ingest.
I just have a question. So you're talking about for us to tell the truth, right? We get the story from you. It's our duty to tell the truth. How do we go about having the dialogue with youth, right? Because we want them to know the story, but do we introduce them to the trauma right away? How do we go about educating them without hiding the truth?
I really don't have that answer, but you gotta tell the truth. I'm talking about, I really don't. You know, that's where y'all come in at. You know, but at the end of the day, they need to know the truth.
Okay.
I don't have that answer. But I do know that we gotta train our youth. I got grandkids. Some of y'all probably met them. I try to do all I can for my grandkids, but I discipline my grandkids. I buy them what they want. I don't try to overdo it because I think, and I want them to work for what I give them. I just don't want to keep giving them. But they got video games. Now my daughter, she don't let her kid play video games. And my other grandkids, they do. But this the thing with the whole, these kids sit up all night and play violent video games all night. And people think that's okay. It's another thing, back to what I was saying at first. As long as they ain't bother me, they okay. Mm-hmm. But you really need to know what your kid's doing. Because that's how to me, sometimes that's how I think that it's so easy for kids to go out there and kill somebody. Because they up playing crazy games all night. And nobody, not even the parent, do anything about it. I'm just one person. I can't do nothing about it. It ain't no conspiracy that the gang people got people killing people. It's what you let your kids have to watch. And some of us parents are doing it.
Could I ask you about, so your grandkids are in school in this county. What kind of Black history activities or lessons do you see them, or homework do you see them work on? What kind of things are they being taught about Black history, about Elaine, or even nationally, so that they are being connected to the truth?
You probably got a little about Martin Luther King, maybe Malcolm X.
Nothing local.
Nothing local. No Ida B. Well, Richard Wright. I ain't saw that in none of these schools. I ain't saw none of them bring nothing like that home.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for coming out today on a Saturday morning to talk about, your experiences with Elaine and just the history. I just wanted you to talk about the work going on here at the Elaine Legacy Center and, what you're doing. I know we got a little catch of it in the film yesterday, but if you can just talk about that, please.
The film, I think the filmmakers kind of confused just a little bit, on the film. But here at the Elaine Legacy Center, we just trying to, I really work with a lot of kids because I want kids to know about this here. And I want kids to work here. We kind of educate the kids. We ain't holding classes where we got all the kids sitting down, we reading Richard Wright or Alex, we ain't doing that, but we trying to educate them on their history here in Elaine a little bit. I have a youth program for them We take them swimming, which I couldn't take them swimming this year because the pool closed. Most of all these kids here in Elaine, they always crying about they want a new school. They want a swimming pool. Just stuff that they want. We feed them here. We also have a food pantry that we feed the community. We got a clothing room. If somebody get burnt out or just need some clothes, they can come get free clothes. We got a lot of good donators. A lot of people, it's a lot of good people out there that help us, that bring stuff here. We got a book room. We got computers where they can come down in the afternoon and do their homework. The internet suck everywhere down here, so if y'all ever run across somebody with some good internet, send them this way. So, but yeah, we do a lot of good stuff here with the kids because the kids are the future.
How'd you get involved with the Elaine Legacy Center specifically?
Well, I was working for Miss Olson, and we just kind of developed it back in, I think, 2007. We just kind of came up, and we've been kind of growing ever since. I talked to a lot of important people I probably never would have met if I wasn't working in this. Got a chance to talk to y'all. Y'all come. That's a good thing. I even got to talk to Richard Wright's daughter not too long ago. I done talked to her maybe 3 times. So that's a good thing.
What were some of the challenges that you and Dr. Olson have encountered while trying to build the Elaine Legacy Center?
It's a lot of challenges. You know, it's challenges from the people. It's even challenges from the people that you're trying to help. You know, a while back, maybe a couple of months ago, I was trying to create this well thing for the kids because I wanted them to try to learn them how to save their money and not just spend every time they get some money, spend it. You know, put a little bit of it up. But anyhow, I went to the Southern Bancorp, and they said, if you give me, if you can get 50 kids, we'll give you $5,000, and you can create them an account. And we got donors that I got like a trailer and a truck, and we'll go out and pick up paper, and then we'll get like a stipend, maybe $20. Not all of them at one time, but we'll get a section of kids then next time. And we'll get them like $20, and they can put 10 in their account, and they can do what they want to do with the rest. Or we let them paint pictures over here, and people come in and buy them, and we give them all that money. All that 100% go to them. So it's a lot. But back to it took me actually about 2 months to get all that because people here, and I understand that, you know, they didn't want their children's Social Security number out there. But in hindsight, with all the other stuff going on, they getting income taxes and stuff, and they ain't working, they getting PPP loans, but they worry about the bank getting their child Social Security number, and we just trying to help them, you know. Ain't nothing I can do with them, you know, but I'm talking, that's just one of the challenges. It should have been everybody should have jumped on board, and I was like, go to the bank. You know, I don't need it. The bank need it. Just go to the bank and give them your kid's name. And people just, they did it. I finally got my 50 people, but it took so long, you know. And it's just a long thing that we started out, well, the bank started out, put $100 in there, and they can't get it out. They cannot touch it. Their parents can't touch it. It's their money. They the only one can get it out after a year. And then I started looking into stocks, which I don't know nothing about. But after the bank thing, I'm gonna try to find something else more.
A few minutes ago, you were talking about the police, and I'm curious how like the presence of the police are felt in Elaine, how people in Elaine feel about the police generally.
The police in Elaine, they got their faults. You know, like everybody, You got good police, you got bad police. You got police just want to run around and just cause you black, they want to pull you over and write you a ticket. You got people in this town that if they run every stop sign in this town, they wouldn't get a ticket. You got your picks and chooses. And they prey on the poor. Other than me, have I had any problem with it? No, I haven't had, but when I see police profiling, I do bring it to attention. I have went to the chief and say, hey, police can't be doing this, you know. So, yeah, but they, you know, they ain't shooting people. Put it like that. They ain't, you know, in this town, there's not a lot of violent crime. You know, everybody just kind of, you might have a fight, kid fight or something, and that's about it. I ain't gonna say it never won't happen. Yeah, it will, you know, but it's kind of low-key town.
I just wanted to ask you about the community and the sense of community here in Elaine and like what you personally love about it.
I love the people here, and I like the feel of just being home. I like how people get along. I wish it were more in this town to do. I wish people would bring more here to this town. But it's just home. It's open. It's not all the noise and fire trucks and stuff all day long, or the police going somewhere to a scene, you know. It's just quiet. And I lack quietness, you know. I don't like all the congested traffic. And back in the 70s, the late 70s, I went to Chicago. We moved to Chicago for 2 years, me and my grandmother. And when I went up, we got up there, I almost went crazy. Because constantly it was police. I had never, I'm talking about, I'm green, I'm from the country. I had never been to the city. And it was, and some people like that. I never could catch on to it. I never liked it. Didn't like all the noise. Didn't like the freeway. Didn't like all the traffic. 5 o'clock traffic. Didn't like none of that. So.
In the film we watched the other day, we saw some of the things that the Elaine Legacy Center and yourself do for people who are not just the kids. Can you talk a little bit more about all of those activities and services you guys provide?
Well, we try to provide people with jobs. We got people that work here. They do, we work with Children's Hospital sometime. I forget the name of that program we work, but we just give them jobs and try to get them. We have people cooking for the seniors. We had to cut all that out because of the COVID, but we're going to start it back maybe this year. We got a lot of people fund us. Not a lot of people, but we got enough people to keep us afloat right now. We need more, so and if anything y'all or anybody else think would be good for the kids, we open to whatever.
All right. And I mean, I heard a lot of why you didn't really love Chicago, but what keeps you in Elaine specifically? Do you envision?
Well, I moved to Texas, and when I got out of school, I was working at TI. It's too hot down there. It's too hot, you know, it's too hot. I didn't like all the heat down there, so I just moved back home. And I kind of been here ever since.
One thing I've noticed is like here in like Legacy Center is that like, why is there Spanish? Like, was there Hispanic people here, or how did that happen?
Yeah, before a couple of years ago, it was like a church. Like Ways of Prayer is a church, and it was a lot of Hispanics going here. But you know, after the Mama Trump came in, everybody kind of just vanished. We still got a few Hispanics come, but that's it. Anybody could come, but the Hispanic people, we may have 5 or 6, maybe 5 that still come. Everybody else kind of just moved away.
I was wondering, you mentioned you have grandkids. Can you tell us about your family, how many kids you've had and your grandkids?
How many grandkids?
Yeah, your kids as well.
I got 12 kids. Actually, two in but they my kids because when I've been married twice. And I got 12 wonderful kids. And when my kids were coming up and I was working, I never let, you know what, I didn't never let my kids get to the farms because I didn't want none of them working on the farms. None of my kids ever worked on the farm, none of them. Because that's just something I wouldn't, I know they had to work, but I wanted them to go to college or get a job. So that's why I wouldn't buy them tractors, I wouldn't buy them these little, I wouldn't buy them nothing like that. Because there's so many people that get hooked, kids get hooked on the farm and they want to go drive a tractor and they want to go drive a combine. Yeah, it's something fascinating for them, but in the long run, you end up getting trapped on there. Mm. And then you 20, then you 30, then you 40, then you 50, and you still there on that farm doing that same job that you'll never get ahead. The farmer's making millions. He's sending his kids to Harvard or whatever school he wants them to go to. But your kids is trapped there. If you move in one of their houses, and yes, you have to make a living. If you got a family, you have to make a living. Yes, I worked on the farm, but I had sense enough to get off the farm. That's the thing. That's the thing I'm telling you between the projects and getting off to working on the farm. You got to break away, and everybody can't do that. They need a little help.
Earlier, you mentioned how a lot of people in Elaine want to improve their situations, but a lot of policies prevent them. How do you think those policies came about?
Did you say that again?
Yeah, no, it's okay. That a lot of people want to improve their situations here, but there's some policies that stop them from doing that. How do you think, like, that could be laws or anything like that, or just resources? How do you think things got to how they are right now so people can't improve their situations?
Because there's no generational wealth that was brought up from 1919. There's nothing here for a black person or anybody to put anything here for a black person to come upon. You know, and there's poor white people here too. You know, they in the same situation, but it's just because they white, they just got a little more privilege than us poor black people. You know, and I'm not rich and I'm not saying I'm poor. I can get what I want and I don't stay on a farm, but everybody can't break that cycle. You know, you gotta feed your family. And it's just nothing here for a black person. You know, all my kids don't live here. I got 2 kids that live here, but that's it. All the rest of them is in Little Rock, Atlanta, and, you know, they just moved away because that's what I wanted them to do. They can always come home, but I don't, and if they get to where they retire from their job, yeah, come home. Build you a house if you can, you know, but I suggest all kids to get away from here. And we should be trying to keep them here to build a community, but ain't nothing here for them. You don't want your kids growing up in a place where they ain't got nothing going for them. You don't want that. And the laws, they were just sought against, you know, if you take all the land and then you press the people down where they can't make a living, that's just that, you know. They try to stop people from voting, and people just doing all this crazy stuff, you know. And sometimes I think I'm going crazy when I listen to a lot of this stuff, you know. And it's a lot. It's a lot. If you really look at the whole big picture, at the whole world, what's going on, you know, and it's something new every day. It's something. The good thing about it is that more of the hidden stuff is coming out now for me. All the people, the hidden figures, if you want to call them, all that stuff is coming out, you know, and that's good for the younger generation. because now they know some of their people had part in helping somebody get to the moon or Mars, you know, and that's what white America don't want. You know, they don't want that. And don't think I'm sitting here talking crazy. It's the truth. They want the benefits of it, but they don't want to say, well, James had something to do with that. If it hadn't been for him, we probably couldn't have figured it out. You know, so yeah, I think a lot of this getting out, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, with that, I think we're nearing the end of the interview. I want to ask you if you have any last thoughts you'd like to share with us, or anything you feel like we left out in asking you.
I probably left a whole lot of stuff out, but you know what? Y'all are young, and y'all got a great future in front of you. All of you, I hope. Always just tell the truth. My grandmother said the truth will set you free. You know, and that's true. Just tell the truth, you know, because if you tell one lie, then you got to tell another lie. And the lie keep going until you get caught up. So it might be hard at that time to tell the truth, but just tell the truth. Be honest. Treat people how you want to be treated. Look at yourself and say, if this decision I'm going to make, is it going to really help or is it going to hurt? You know, you have to look at all of that. Because life is not fair. It is not fair. It's what you make of it. If you want to be one of them people just sit around and think something's going to fall out the sky and you're going to have plenty of money, it ain't going to happen. Now, some people, it's just handed to them. They never had to work a day in their life and can buy anything they want. And then you see these people that make all this money, they got everything they want. Bezos, the other guy, that's just a trillionaire. How much is enough? How come you don't take some of that money and put it back in the world? How much is enough? It's just greed. Everybody want more. No matter how much you get, you just still want more. We need to break that because these people are starving out here. They setting up, America let food set up in barges and stuff and just rot, when they can take it around the world and feed the people. Or they rather throw it away. People hungry, they rather just throw it away. You got restaurants that they rather throw it, and I know that they just can't give food away. I understand that. But it ought to be where they could take it somewhere and just give it to the hungry people. There's somebody's mother, father, sister, auntie. You know, there's people out there that got degrees that they so educated they can't get no further. And then they fall off the block. And then they homeless, they living in their car. So it could happen to any, it don't take but one little tragedy in your life, in our lives here, to change our whole life. You may not believe that when you think you're on top of the world, you got everything, you don't need nobody, but it's something in your life can happen that would change your whole life. So if y'all just stick to the truth, have an open mind, and be honest with yourself, and think before you react, you'll be okay. Thank y'all. I enjoyed talking to y'all.
Thank you.
Y'all have a safe trip back to Florida, and if I ever come to Florida, I'm gonna look some of y'all up, or look the college up.
Be a pleasure of ours.
Yeah. Thank you.